We are live. Joe?
Hello, this is Lowballing with Joe and Alan. We're both authors. We have written a lot of stuff. I would go into long lists of them, but that gets really boring. We're on Amazon. Alan Gamboa, Joe Hansen. You won't be disappointed with either one of us. Tonight, Weird Realities is bringing on Weird Realities' own David M. Muga. He's written, I believe, 3 books so far, David.
Yes.
I've read the first 2, and I got to tell you, the first book, Radius, am I right on the title on that?
Yes, sir.
Radius is brilliant. Nobody in probably 4 or 5 different genres who read this book would be disappointed. It was really a breath of fresh air. I talked to him the other day, and I understood that he's involved with a college. And are you still taking courses at college there, David, or are you teaching?
No, I teach at a high school. Unfortunately, some guy keeps on signing me up for college classes, and so I keep on going.
You keep going.
You better talk to that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
So you've already graduated college. You just keep going back for more.
Yes. Yeah, I'm hoping to be done in the next year and just be done with it finally. But yeah, it's a long going process, but it's more of a journey than a race. So it is what it is.
Good for you. Do you have a specialty that you're focusing on there? Are you looking to be a journalist or?
As far as college, let's see. I started back in 2007 when I got out. I started going back to school. Mm-hmm. And let's see, by 2015, I gained my undergrad, a couple masters. My favorite master's is actually a really fun degree. Very hard to get. Very intriguing subject. National security studies. So we focused on different threat scenarios around the U.S.
Oh, wow.
And it's only back then, it was only one of 2 programs, I want to say. There was one on the East Coast and one over on our side on the West Coast in Southern California. I think since then they've sprouted out more. Right. But yeah, still to this day, that's my favorite degree. It was rough, but I mean, we learned a lot. It was really interesting stuff.
Well, if you tend to lean towards the post-apocalyptic genre, so that's something like that would be perfect for you. I understand you're a survivalist. Now, in my opinion, a survivalist is different than a prepper. Am I wrong on that?
There is a certain degree of that. So I would say I'm a survival enthusiast. So I'm not necessarily like high toned. I'm still learning quite a bit. Sure. I'm trying to learn as much as I can as far as like crafting, stuff like that, trapping, everything like that, just water reclamation, as well as just making sure you have your own supplies, your own food supplies, sustainable things for long term. I find it as a fun hobby, to be honest.
Now, do you consider that to be the same thing as being a prepper? Because, I mean, there's cults out there now that are just, I don't know.
They go hand in hand, but when I think more of a survivalist, I think you can throw a guy like in the middle of the wild and he'll be fine for a while. I mean, I'm not that up to that caliber yet. That's right. Insane, certain things I've seen. But I think it goes hand in hand for the most part. Preppers, too. I mean, they store for long term. They also store for... I always kind of consider like a lot of preppers, they store for like end days situation or apocalypse kind of situation, which makes sense. I mean, you could have bad things happen all the time. And you always should have a good amount of food, good amount of water and storage and stuff like that, medicine on a regular basis. But I also look at long term as being self-sustainable. And hopefully by the time we get close to retiring, hopefully we're much more self-sustainable. Don't have to rely on the government and stuff like that.
Now, David, did that last that you did that you finished, did that kind of help with your survivalist enthusiasm?
What was that last part? Which part?
Bit to more what's going on internally in this, around us, or
it definitely gives more perspective on things and just basic common sense. To be surprised, I mean, I'm surprised a lot of people don't carry like basic things in their vehicles, like first aid kits, stuff like that. And we live in Southern California. I know plenty of families without what we would call like go bags, but not necessarily for post-apoc stuff, more for if bad things actually happen, like floods, mudslides, earthquakes, stuff like that. They're not readily prepared.
All right. Well, we don't need first aid kits anymore with the invention of crazy glue and duct tape. Okay, we can get through pretty much everything with those two things.
Oh, you need the tourniquet though, man.
The one thing that amazes me is that I think most people don't realize the enormous amount of food that you have to grow and hunt in order to be self-sustainable for 1 year. I mean, we go out to the grocery store, we buy our food, we bring it home, we cook it, no big deal. We don't really think about it. Now, if you want to stay that well fed, in the wild, living off the land, you're not going to be able to do it. It's just, you would consume up the resources around you within a month and you'd have to move, it just, people don't realize how many beans and how many tomatoes and how many pigs and what they would have to raise just to keep their family living high on the hog for 1 year. It's
I could talk about this for the whole next hour, not gonna lie. This is my little hobby area. Yeah.
So anyways, let's get back to books. What inspired you to become a writer? Is this something you always wanted to do?
Actually, yeah. I mean, as a young boy, I mean, I was writing quite a bit. I won a couple silly a little writing awards as a kid, telling little stories, mostly little shocker stories and stuff like that as a kid. One of the ones I remember is some kind of mummy thing. I think I was 9 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid ends up going crazy, talking to his teddy bear in an asylum. And yeah, people kind of thought it was weird. I was like, I enjoyed writing this. But I used to, not gonna lie, besides the stuff I turned in for school, I used to kind of burn my stories after I was done until mid-adolescence.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a burn after reading guy.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I kind of didn't want other people reading it for a while. And
I get
I was
that.
young, very, very young, adolescent. So
was it just for you then? I mean, you felt like you had to entertain yourself with that, or?
I suppose it's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. I mean, eventually I know I want people to read certain things, but I want to kind of fine tune my craft over the years. And just looking at some of it, yeah, they probably shouldn't have that kind of access to my head. So I kind of got rid of a few things.
Wow.
You are revealing a lot about yourself when you put together a story. I mean, when you write it from scratch.
Yeah.
You reveal a lot about your inner nature and what you think about and your sensitivities, and it can be a scary, scary thing for anybody other than Alan, who just laughs like a freaking dork.
Laughter is good for you, though. It really, really is. Even when you're having a crap day, just finding something to laugh about.
Well, yeah, I forgot to put my headset on. Oh well,
that's okay.
You all hear me okay? Am I glitching out or anything?
No, you're good. You're good on my end. You're good.
How do I sound? Do I sound great? Am I beautiful?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you sound like you always do, Joe.
Do I look good?
You do, Claire. Do you have any influences from a young age, that interested in your reading, writing?
I read a lot as a kid. So our families on both sides, my mom and dad's sides, were heavy into education. Not necessarily meaning everybody had to have degrees, but they were very focused on us being intelligent, being able to take care of ourselves, and being very well read. Goodness, I'd have to ask my mom when she had to start reading, but it was very early. And we did the same thing with our kids. So we have 2 daughters. My oldest is now 16, about to be 17, and my youngest is 12. We've had them reading since, goodness, I want to say 4, and they were giving us book reports around 5.
That's good.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, nothing crazy, not like they have to write me a 5-page paper. So in other words, they just had to write down a few things they liked about the book when they were little. As they got older, it got more progressed. So yeah, my Uncle Tony, my mom, great granny Kate, Grandpa Pete, everyone was really high emphasis on just reading a lot. So when I was a kid, I read a lot of war books, and that makes sense as I turned into a history teacher. But yeah, I read a lot of war books.
Did you have is there any author that you can remember that really in particular stood out for you?
So many I read.
Not that we're pimping them out.
No, I get it. Tim O'Brien, The Things They Carried. I read that when I was a little bit older. It focused on Vietnam, but it was really, really good. What else? Seven Roads to Hell. I remember reading that as a kid. But Tim O'Brien's a little bit more recent. I've read that 3 or 4 times over the years. It's a really good book.
Yeah, I remember reading it years ago. I can't remember it because I was reading a bunch of different Vietnam War era books at that time, trying to understand my dad. And it was, I remember it was good. I just can't remember it. But yeah, those do make sense.
It's like part fictional, part realistic, where they base the story off the gear and their packs and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, they're supposed to make a movie out of that.
Are they? Okay, I'm intrigued. I will definitely watch that.
It's been a while since I've heard it, but I believe they're going to make a movie out of that. Rich Restucci says, "Man, looking good." So Rich Restucci's watching us. Hey, Rich, shout out.
Hey, Rich.
He's a big fan of yours, David.
Yeah.
You know, I guess the restraining order doesn't extend to podcasts because, you know, I'm sure he's received the paperwork by now, but I filed. That mother is watching me all the time, Alan.
Well, he's throwing out some that look like influence for him remarks. So the restraining order is hell.
In your opinion, to get a good novel, you find one that you like. What do you think it is that strikes you about those novels that you've intrigued you? Is it the characterization? Is it strictly plot line? You know, what draws you in? And what do you focus on when you're writing?
I'm big on characters. I mean, I can read just about anything as long as I can relate to the characters. I mean, they don't have to be anything like me whatsoever. But what I'm saying is, as long as I can feel somewhat like them, have some kind of empathy with them, just makes much more sense to me. Of course, a plot line definitely helps.
See, for me, it's plot line. They can be crappy characters. I'm always going to find something I like or hate about them. But plot line, if it's a strong plot line, then I'm there.
I do enjoy a strong plot line, but I just for some reason always find myself attaching myself to a lot of characters as I read through. I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, I was kind of sad a few times reading Alan's stories. Like, really? Okay, I guess. No, I'm saying that you did your characters, Alan. So
they
kill off characters is rough.
Like yours, you killed off a couple people in yours. I was like, wow, you know, really surprised me. But they flowed for your story.
Now I didn't understand it until I actually started writing. I was like, why did they kill off that person? Why would they ever do that? And I didn't understand it until I started writing on my own. I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. I get it. It's rough, but I get it.
Well, nobody's going to be a big enough idiot to kill off their protagonist.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy your character. Your stories are more character driven. You know, I mean, you've got your plot, great plot, but you do have a lot of character driven scenarios in your books, David, and I like that. I really do. Now, I read all 3 books, and you've been really gracious to send me your books, you know, so I can read them. And
thank you, by the way.
Yes,
of course. I've been reading you guys. I pulled them out. I have like a bunch of your books right here. I've been reading you guys' books for years. So.
Oh well,
just Alan's though, right?
No, yours are. Yeah, no, I have yours right here too. For Which We Stand, right there. One Nation. I see Invisible.
Oh, just the
No, there's Zombie Rush right there too.
Of Texas. Oh, you got Zombie Rush. Yeah, that's discontinued. That's discontinued. So is this one series you're going to stick with, or do you have other ones in mind? I mean, you created a new universe with Radius.
I did.
One that really hasn't been copied. So is this something you're going to stick with? You have big plans for it, or you're moving on to bigger and better?
So I am working on other things, but I want to come back to the Radius at one point in time after I have much more breathing room, able to take it in and stuff like that. Because to be honest, I wrote all 3 within 2 years.
Yeah.
And so as I started publishing, by the time I had the first one published, I was drafted, and I was just working on them to clean them up, everything like that, send them off to Jerry to get them edited and whatnot. But I don't want to rush things. I rather, like I was talking to Joe, I rather put out quality compared to quantity.
Yeah, no,
you know, I'm the same way now. My problem is publishing. I don't think I have a problem with the writing now. I mean, I'm always trying to improve it, true, but my issues are with publishing. So I've got 3 that are waiting to be published. I just haven't figured out how I want to publish them. So, you know, if I want to do a traditional publish or maybe try one of these chapter month by month things, or I got to do something different because what I have been doing doesn't work. So we'll figure it out though.
Well, you
Someday
got
I and my smart niece will take them over and she'll be successful.
there we go.
Yeah, I'm fine with the whole learning process. I learned a lot through the first one, and I'm learning as I go. So I'm still pretty much a novice author and learning as I go.
So Rich Restucci is giving you a compliment, David.
Yeah.
He says that you like spaghetti.
I do like
and that
spaghetti.
you do.
I do.
Yeah. And that your research is flawless.
I can definitely go down a rabbit hole for research. I'm sure you guys do the same exact thing. Once you start researching something, you like look at the clock, like, has it really been 5 hours? What am I doing with my life right now?
Yeah.
No, I do not. I don't. When I research, it's 15 minutes. I plug in a word, I read the first explanation it has, and said, well, I'm writing fiction, so what the hell? Good enough for me. But I don't write technical work like you did. You know, I'm writing stories about people running with baseball bats and getting into cars, you know, running from zombies, you know, or if I'm doing romance, it's, you know, I'm not writing high-tech stuff that needs to be researched. So why would I?
Well, sometimes it does pretty good research in the beginning, and then it just goes off on different tangents. I'm not sure if you guys have ever done this, where you're researching one thing, you just end up like way over in left field. You're like, how did I get over here? I wasn't even looking at this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've done that before. Rich says Joe does his research on Pornhub. And I got
I don't even know what Pornhub is.
That's what a guy that does his research on Pornhub would say.
Is that a casino? Is that one of those online casinos?
Yes, Joe. There's a lot of pulling involved. Jason Armenta says, David, I can't wait to read book 3.
Okay, so book 3 is out. I am waiting on Audible. So Punch Audible did the second one, which I was very, very happy with, just because I'm still new to this game, like I said, but I like the fact they were able to do different narrators for different point of views.
Oh, that's good. Now, how'd you set up your Audible? That's a question a lot of authors are, you know, a lot of guys don't have books on, and gals have books on Audible because they either seems out of their price range, or they just can't figure it out, or they don't want to do a royalty share or stuff like that. What'd you do?
So I did a royalty share and then also pay out for it. So it can be a little bit pricey.
Yep.
But I mean, pulling extra shifts, extra stuff like that. Maybe like for me, like working extra classes, covering extra classes, maybe looking at summer school can help out.
I only do cash payouts now. That's all I will do. I won't do the royalty split anymore. I've got old books now that are tied up in 7-year contracts that, you know, I'd rather pay up front and have total control of it right from the start than sit there and have to wait until the series is dead before I can do anything to it.
See, I was looking at that too, because again, this is my first series, but I mean, I've already signed on with Punch Audible for book 3. I was happy with book 2. So right now, as far as the royalties, right now I'm looking more for exposure compared to any kind of financial gain.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
It's a big deal. I mean, Audible is a big deal because you have, you know, your people that are your truck drivers, your people that are mowing their lawns, doing dishes, lazing around in a chair that they don't want to feel like opening a book. They'd rather hear it. So, whole big audience, you know, and you being able to get multiple narrators on your book, that's really cool. That really is.
Yeah, no, super excited with them. And I've heard, I've been listening to book 3 just testing everything out. You have to be super careful, especially as self-published and whatnot, to make sure everything's clean, everything sounds good. But they're super professional, and I'm just excited for it. It should hopefully, I don't want to say anything, but hopefully within the next month, I'm hoping.
Oh, good.
Just about done.
I'm excited for you because that's a big deal. That's a whole audience that's untapped. Like the last book I read right now, I don't know if it's going to go to Audible because I wrote it for somebody else. And the last book I wrote for them, they put on Audible, they picked the wrong narrator. I mean, the guy started out with the accents and then he just gave up, and you could hear him turning his pages of his script during the reading of it. So that really bummed me out because it's, you want the exposure.
Yes.
It didn't cost me anything but readers, I think, and reviews, which sucks. So I'm glad that you've got a good shake on that.
Yeah, so the first one was by someone else, and he did good. Zach Neesmith did good. It's just going into the second one, I was talking to some of my my readers and people that help me out along the way, because I have about 5 people that help me brainstorm. I bounce ideas off of them. They read my work as I'm developing it. And like, it'd be cool if you had different, since you write POV, you have different narrators. I'm like, I was thinking that too. So I did more research into that.
Oh, well, Jason Armstrong likes it. He said that I was at book 2 narrators were awesome in his opinion. So
I was super happy with book 2's narration. I mean, I'm not saying I wasn't happy with 1. I was happy with 1. It was a different scope having, goodness, how many people were in book 2? 7.
Yeah.
7 different voices, 7 different.
Yeah, you spend a lot of money on Audible, and to have somebody like Alan said who gave up on the accents halfway through, that's tough. Hi, Hadley, how you doing this evening?
Hey,
Hadley.
And it is expensive, but when you do get paid back, the royalties are all coming to you and not your portion being split. So the value of paying it outright, I think is important for me, and that's the way I choose to do it. But if you're not doing things on Audible, you're leaving money on the table. So it's a huge market, and I got an excellent narrator who I'm using now. I've had some really good ones in the past too, but the guy I'm using now is just so easygoing, and I had him do a couple books in my No Man's Land series, like Gone to Dog and that. And then I had him do Cataclysm, which is my big fantasy work that it's over 300,000 words. And
right.
It has elves, gnomes, dwarves, giants, monsters of all kinds. And I tell you, he nailed every voice. So if you want somebody who's really willing to go to town for accents and the type of voice, and Neil Arango, Alan and I had him on a show last year. He was on with Andrew Werlin, and we were doing voice actors that day and finding out what they charge and, why they charge and how long it took them to get their skills and such. It was actually a very interesting show. I think you could go back and look it up. But I highly recommend both. I recommend Andrew Werlin, but he's so busy. I don't know if you'd ever get him. He is constantly working.
He's working on.
But who was my other guy? Who's
Rango?
Arango, Neil Arango. I highly recommend him. He did great work.
David Jinx, great.
Sorry, go ahead.
David Muga, you got props from Devin Jinx. He really likes your series, so that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I liked it. I've you caught my attention right off. We've known each other, I guess, a couple years now.
Yep, sounds about right.
And I enjoyed your work right from the start, and you've always seemed to be pretty cool. I mean, I think I'm on 5 websites or web pages on Facebook, and you're on 4 of them. So we obviously get along okay because we haven't had any fights yet.
Right.
Who could fight with that? Who could fight with that face right there, right?
Yeah. I know you said he was cute, Alan, but calm down.
I I really did appreciate you sending us those books. I really, and you earned the honor of it being a bathroom book because that's where I do most of my reading.
That's what you said. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been reading your guys' stuff for years. So, I mean.
Well, we really appreciate that. It always surprised me when someone says, hey, I read your books, and I'm always waiting for the hammer to drop.
No, you guys are just such, like, the whole group, like, all of you are just so chill and just very real people. And just like, oh, I'm going to put books out there. I'm going to write. And I was like, honestly, why not give it a go? And so a lot of you guys gave me the encouragement too over the years. Like, why not? I mean, what's the worst going to happen? My writing's trash. I just don't write anymore.
No. Yeah. And you write well, you write good stuff, so don't let that hinder you now, keep going,
I like writing. And the only problem now, like I said, is some jerk keeps on signing me for college classes. So I've been kind of busy the last 3 some odd years. I'm hoping to be done the next year so I can just focus on my other hobbies, this one being one of them.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You're actually staying on subject. I was kind of going to drift this away from, I just, people telling you suck. I mean, everybody goes through these phases of being afraid to put out there what they write, afraid to kick it out the door, afraid what people think. And it's like, I've worked for many restaurants. I've worked for many businesses. I've owned my own businesses. I was a sawmill owner. I was a licensed contractor, builder. There has always been someone there who knew nothing about me telling me I sucked. It's like there's always somebody there with a 1-star review telling you suck or telling somebody else you suck. And they don't know anything. All they're doing is trying to make you look bad because in some way they think that makes them look better. And it has nothing to do with anything you do or have done. So these people who are afraid to put out a novel because people are going to say it sucked. There's people out there that think you suck already without a reason. Give them a reason.
This is very true. There's always folks like that. But I mean, I was astounded. I was very humbled and kind of taken aback on a great way for just how the response to it was. People read it. I had no idea would read my stuff. It came out at work. People brought it up. I came out in other circles. People found out about it. I didn't even knew anything about it because I could be better at promotions. Not gonna lie.
That's the hard.
I was very happy with the response. So yeah, I'm going to keep on going. I mean, I'm in no rush. Like I said, quality over quantity. I see this as a lifetime hobby. I don't see why not.
Aren't you glad you didn't burn the first story?
Right? That was a long time ago. I was like a kid. I must have like a thing with lighters too and fire a little bit too.
Well, it's also, and anybody out there who's watching, I'll let you know right now, a second, third, and fourth book is really hard to keep the passion and the pace that you get with the first book.
It is.
I have a good friend, Darren Wearmouth, who wrote a novel, a series recently. It became quite popular about these monsters that live deep beneath the earth and have been there for hundreds of years. And the first book was so good, I was practically sweating at the end of it. It was just intense, hard-hitting, fast-paced. Second book, not so much. And I was feeling bad about it because we were really tight at the time. And then I saw his interview, and he co-authored it with someone. He was talking in an interview with the co-author, and he himself said, no, I didn't like the second book. He says, I'm probably not going to like the third book either. And he told it honestly right then. He said, the first book, you're breaking into a story. Everything's new. Everything's fresh. Everything's alive. And to keep that going through a second and third and fourth book, and that's why I believe that some stories are meant to be a one shot, one shot, be done.
Yeah.
Not everything is meant to be a series.
He writes that series with the Practical Jokers guy. I can't remember his name.
That's the series I'm talking about, actually.
Yeah. And Darren's a good dude. He really helped at the beginning of Foundnex. He was really an integral part. He's not anymore. because he's gone Hollywood now, with this.
Yeah.
But it is hard.
Yeah, he's one of the original founders of
Yeah.
Phalanx Press, which started the Thunderdome where you hang out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is. I get what Joe's saying. It is, because I'm having a really hard time with book 4 in the Operation Zulu series. I know I've got an ending for it. Perfect ending, gonna bring tears to your eyes, but it's just getting more interesting stuff into it. It's because I felt Dead Island Dose was anyway. Let's talk about you, David.
No, I have no problem talking about you guys. You guys are amazing.
we're talking about writing, and that involves all of us.
It does.
Yeah.
So if we take a moment to talk about us,
I'll
I'm
be
fine
real
with that.
No, go for it.
I got to make Dose a Western, even though it's modern, and then Ravenous was just a fast, quick book, and I got better reviews for Ravenous than I did the other 2 books, which is, to me, I didn't feel like I put that much into it like the other ones. So now I'm hung up on 4. I am really hung up. My family's able to live with me tonight. I'm going to walk out of the room with my head this big, day, because it's really a compliment that you're a fan of us. I'm going to sound like this little schoolgirl or whatever, schoolboy or whatever, but it's just, like I said, it just amazes me when other people read our books and because you never know, because Amazon with the reviews aren't that quick out, and you don't see a lot with sales sometimes, and so you don't know if is anybody out there. Hello, are you poking things with a stick? And marketing is really a tough push, because there's some really good writers out there that sell nothing, just because they're not marketed. And there's some other writers that write crap that just because their marketing's on point, they sell books, and I think stuff falls in between on that. And marketing's a really rough thing. How do you feel about that?
No, yeah, I completely agree. I have luckily a good bunch of circles that have actually talked about my book without me even saying anything about it. By giving it out to like a few friends and stuff like that, they talk to other friends, so on and so forth, and just the circle expands. And what I've been told as far as my series, if you live around here, like we can see everything. Like they know everything. Like apparently, my visuals as far as interpreting everything, like I can just see everything happening. It makes perfect sense. So for at least locals in Southern California, they recognize everything, and so they enjoy it that much more. But as far as marketing, just try and do ads here and there. Like I'll pop another few ads out once Audible 3 comes out for book 3, and I just try to stay on top of it. But I need to get better. I'm not gonna lie. Marketing is tough.
It is tough.
Yep. So is it true you're a member of the Mile High Club? Rich Restucci said that he took you on a plane, and I'm just wondering if that.
I would love to actually meet Rich in person. Maybe not in that manner, but I would love to meet.
Not on a plane. Rich is a great guy. I could have had him on the show with us here.
Yeah, he's got some family stuff going on right now, so he's
Thank you, Hadley.
He wanted to come in and throw some snark at us tonight and watch Dave's stuff. So, but he's got a standing invitation to come on the show. Rich is another great writer. Another guy I love reading. Another guy that send me bathroom books. So,
yeah. Hadley posted a link down there if anybody wants to go see the interview that we had with the voice actors. That was actually pretty educational, wasn't that, Alan?
Yeah,
we kind of
was.
Kind of started out wondering where it would go, and by the time we were done, it's like we wanted more, because
I'll have to go check
find out how much time they do that they have to do to put an hour's worth of content up.
Yeah,
you'll find out how they earn their money.
I'm going to get your book on Audible. Your second. I want to check it out with the multiple voice actors. I like that. I love that.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it because I was bouncing off a couple of my friends, my buddy Jeremy. We talk on a regular basis. We just bounce ideas back and forth. And he's, you know what, this would actually, since you built your whole little universe and if you write POV, just maybe look at multiple narrators. And so that's what I started looking for. As far as that goes, though, I am eventually going to try to branch out and write a different style, but I really enjoy the POV. I like having different perspectives on different areas.
Right.
Sure.
That's I was going to say something.
I like the multiple actors too doing a book. I do not like sound effects though. You know, I was listening to the I won't try to remember the name, but it was a really good series. And they did normally just R.C. Bray doing the story, blah blah blah, like typical. And then they did like a theatrical version where they had sound effects for all the ships and everything, and it's a space fantasy, and it Craig Allinson's is book, if you read, you know, and I didn't like the theatrical versions at all. I found the sound effects to be distracting. I mean, it was right there in my ear listening through a headset, that all of a sudden it's like hearing fake machine guns and shooting lasers, and it really distracted from the story. Where if they had I think you said that you had that book about the tank that you said you liked the soundtrack, or you liked the audible version so much.
Oh, Mark Greeny's Armored. Yeah, I really did. It was like they laid it out like a movie, and it was just really entertaining. But I get the distraction part. Sometimes they would say something you couldn't hear it because it was covered up by music or the sound effects. But that would be neat to, besides having a multiple voice actors, it'd be neat to have your book acted out. I think, I think that'd be fun. But that's me, not you, Joe. You want to fire?
I'm willing to do anything as long as I don't have to leave the house.
So you can have. There's some really good voice narrators out there, and I'd say like Andrew Erlin, he does a good job with women's voice, but it still sounds like a guy doing a woman's voice.
Let's see, that's one of the main reasons I wanted multiple narrators for the female POVs. And not gonna lie,
that's very accepted in woke society, by the way.
Yeah,
women sounding like guys. I mean, you see it all the time.
Yeah, but if you could, and then on the other hand, if you get a female narrator to do the men's, so if you can get, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that, David.
On that note, I was actually one of this gal, I have to look up her name, but she gave me a review on Reedsy, and it wasn't requested. She has ended up reading the series, and she made the comments, and I've heard this from multiple female readers, that I actually did pretty good as far as portraying the female aspect. I mean, there are improvements, obviously, because I'm writing from a male point of view, but it does help out to be able to jump into different mindsets. And I was very excited about that, to be honest. That was probably one of the better reviews. Like, okay, cool. I can get inside other people's heads. It's kind of fun.
You did. It wasn't, she tripped boobity boob down the stairs and, no.
I love that. I've seen that joke like a dozen times. I think it's hilarious.
Don't you have a whole book of that, Joe? But no, your female characters were, realistic. Size 12 waist, and 84 double D's, and come save us. No, they were good characters.
Yeah, I try to write for much realistic as possible, drawing from, I don't know, people I've met in life and from different things. I mean, over time, I'm sure you guys understand, characters kind of become a part of you over time. Hopefully not all of them, because some of them we write are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, that one character that I had to write from the first series, Rick, after every session of writing him, I had a couple whiskeys. I had to unwind from writing him.
I hate it.
He was rough.
I hated that. I wanted him to die.
So did I.
Whitney Jackson says, I appreciate that. I've been watching older shows, and it seems like a lot of it is very obviously men writing about females. Hey, Whitney, it's my daughter. That's true. It doesn't take you out. And like Joe, your females don't take you out. There's other writers that I like, and their female characters are more prop pieces or victims, or some people get weird about strong women or just women in general being in the action, So I find that odd.
I do too.
Yeah, I do too, because I mean, granted, some of these where they have a 15-year-old girl taking on a whole army, and you've seen it, and it's I mean, that stuff is, I won't call it tripe because it's fun,
Yeah, it's fun.
But it's not realistic. But see, that's the thing, is it's fiction, and that's all we're doing is having fun,
right?
And if you want to have a 15-year-old girl saving the day, more power to you. If you can write it and make it entertaining, have at it.
Yeah.
But you're hearing a lot about things being woke, and movies are suck now because they're so woke and they're so this, and it's just like, I'll watch anything and I'll read anything and I'll give it its own chance. If somebody is trying to push an agenda down my throat, I'll see it.
Yeah.
You don't need to point out every little detail and say, this is so woke and they're trying to control us and they're trying to do that to us because they did this. And I'm just not going to get into it. Maybe it is woke. Maybe it's bad. I don't know. I don't care. Maybe I shouldn't feel this way or that way. It's like, this is America. We got to feel the way that we feel about everything. I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know why we ended up here, but here we are.
There are some shows I turn off.
So somebody say something.
What do you think?
There are certain shows like I turn off immediately. I mean, it's not because of any kind of. It's just because I can see everything coming, and I'm like, all right, you're pushing too much against me. I don't necessarily like this. Right. And I've learned. I'm going to call it out. I've learned from Lost. I'm not sure if you guys ever seen that series. That series ruined several years of my life because I put all this time and effort into this show, and it just, I'm like, really, that's your story. You guys are killing me. So, but
they ended that really, really poorly. Bringing in, they really messed that up, I thought.
So yeah, there's some shows I'll watch for a season or two and like, nope, don't like you anymore. I'm done. I'll walk away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like giving things.
And I will admit there are shows and programs where they have tried to put things in there to manipulate parts of society. I mean, it's so obvious that you can't deny that. Yeah. But for the most part, I don't think people are trying to do that. If they do, they're doing,
Well, like I watched The Rookie, like Whitney said, and they, when it went to the they're going anti-cop for a while, and they put that show like that, and it's a cop show.
Isn't it a cop show?
It's a cop show, yeah. So everything, they're apologizing for everything, and certain people were bad, certain people were good now, and it's like, come on, people watch cop shows to see cop shows. They don't watch it to see woke cop shows. And so I think it really hurt that. I stopped watching it. I just couldn't get through. Brooklyn Nine-Nine did the same thing. Love that show. Yeah. Last season, just played to a political agenda, and so halfway.
Yeah. And you can see it happening. You can.
Yeah,
it's just whether you're looking for it in everything.
Yeah, I watched the first season, but then like I started seeing every plot line. I was like, all right, this is getting boring for me. I'm gonna go do something else. But keep in mind, like I am doing a lot of other work. So if a show's not interesting me enough, I'm gonna throw it off to the side and get back to schoolwork and get back to grading.
Right.
Well, cop shows are all same tropes. There's
so you teach high school now?
I do. I'm a sixth year.
Sorry, Alan. We were going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I told you those rabbit holes. You got to be careful about those. That happened a lot.
Thank you, Joe.
I reserve the right to be an asshole. So, Alan, shut up. What do you teach in high school?
I teach history. So it depends on the year. I really don't care what I teach as long as it's history.
Well, it's history, so yeah, it does.
Well, it changes from year to year. So like 10th grade is world, 11th grade is US, 12th grade is government economics. So it just depends on what year they want me to teach what.
Oh, I
And this
see.
is my
Okay.
6th year teaching that. Prior to that, I was working in a factory, building pressure washers for about 9 years and some change. But yeah, I was going
So
to school the whole time.
when you write, do you outline or do you just start writing and whatever comes out comes out?
I
Or
outline for sure. So I like knowing where I'm going. So before I even have like everything together, I know where I want to end it.
okay.
And so I start outlining that. I realized like, all right, because originally I thought for the radius, for the first stint of it, this first arc of it, I would need 5 books. But I was like, no, I can get away with 3 because I don't want to. It's my first series. Let's not go over the
Mm-hmm.
top. Let's just see how it works out in the beginning. And as I can definitely get away with 3 with a good amount of information inside there and everything in there. Looking back, it could have been stretched out. But I mean, I also not sure how I feel about that stretching things out to stretch things out.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, I have an outline. So every like for all of my, I have it written down. I have 8 different storylines right now, and I have outlines for each one.
Wow. That's good. Is there any kind of genre that you want that's going to be like a stretch for you? Like, are you okay, Joe?
Yeah, I will be. I thought
Have Jill give you the Heimlich there. Is there a genre like, let's Western, something that you like to write in, but you think it might be a stretch for you? Or
Westerns would be hard for me. I am having some difficulty, which I'm going to put on the back burner and just let it ferment in my mind while I'm writing a couple other things for a couple years. I have 2 different series that are kind of, yeah, they're a little bit more difficult for me because one genre is very flooded, so I want to make sure to do it correctly. And the other genre I haven't seen too much of, and I just want to make sure I get it right. It has a lot of research to be done because it has to go through a lot of historical time frames. But yeah, it's gonna take some time. It's not necessarily post-apoc. It's more, well, one is post-apoc, but the other one's more. How would I classify this? I don't know how to classify this. Do you have? Yeah, I guess supernatural. I would assume supernatural,
oh wow,
but it's going to take me a while to get into that one. That's going to be a few years, maybe 5 or 6. My mom was really pressing me to write on that one, so but it's going to be a while for that one.
There's always the romance genre. Yeah, that's untapped there. That's a big market, the romance market. My mom, you should write Harlequin romances, and I probably should have.
Yeah, I don't think I have it in to me to write romance. I can do a little romance here and there. It's a funny story. My wife kind of joked around, like she read the book once. She's like, "What is this?" Like, what do you mean? She's like, "You can be romantic. What is this?" Like, what are you talking about? I buy you flowers every month. She's like, "You can do better." I'm like, "Oh, great. How did I get myself into trouble?"
You gotta write yourself out of that one.
Right.
I prefer to write about something I know something about, like zombies.
So do you do any recreational reading let's say before you started writing? Did you do recreational reading?
Yeah, I go from fiction to sometimes nonfiction, stuff like that. It just depends on my mood. But yeah, I average. Well, aside from college reading, again, I keep on saying that because it's taking a big part of my life up right now. Because I average anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 words a week just in college writing.
Wow.
So
Okay, now since you started writing your own books, has that affected your reading other books?
It gave me a different perspective. Especially talking to a lot of like gents like yourself and authors over time. It gave me a different perspective. It gave me more. I'm starting to realize like much more about authors as people. And it gives more insight into like what you guys were thinking, stuff like that. And like I said earlier, like why would you kill off that character? I'm like, oh, I get it now. It's rough. I get it now. I have one friend that she swears she was one of my characters, and she's like, "You killed me off. I hate you." I'm like, that wasn't you. I swear.
Yeah. Fans or readers, they sometimes get a little testy when you kill off a character, you know.
Oh God, one is my editor, and she's haunting me for the last 3 books because I killed off in one my protagonist that one time.
Yeah, sure.
One time.
Done that with me too, with the last 5 Roads book I wrote. She reminds me I killed off a character, and she reminds me.
I remember that one, Alan. I remember that one.
And it had to go.
I had to do it. I had to do it to make the other character crazy. So
I get it. I get it now. I didn't get these things back then.
There was a whole title. That was the reason of that character's death.
And I hate to say it, but it's not real. It's fiction. Okay, we're all going to get over this. They're not really dead because they were never really alive.
They're alive in your brain. You know, they're alive in your head. Yeah, I had a hard time getting that character off because
I'm gonna take this on another level.
Do it.
Something that I felt for years. I don't think anybody else feels this way. I have a story that I wrote. It's the first story I ever published that I believe wrote itself through me. And I cannot add to the story. It won't let me. And that story has convinced me that stories are like alive, like they're just out there floating. And if you get an original one, it's like something has attached onto you and is channeling through you and out onto the paper. And that's the way my first novel was. I don't know how I ever wrote anything like it. And so, yeah, I don't know. Do you feel anything metaphysical like that with stories? Do you feel that they're like an energy out there? I swear to God, I'm right wing. This isn't hippie shit. It's something I truly believe.
Well, there's a lot in this world we cannot explain, and it's rather hubris and arrogant to think just because we're human beings, we're bipedal, and that we have all this intelligence that we can explain everything in this world. We can't. So yeah, there are stories out there that we just have to be told, and we very well might just be that pen, that typer, that writer, a typist. So yeah, it's very possible.
That's funny that you say that, because I was talking to Tina the other day about writing, and I said just some of this stuff just needs to come out. You just need to get it out. And I said, I can't explain it, but the story has to come out. And she didn't, of course, she didn't get it, you know. And I said, I can't explain it to you any other way than that. And I don't know either. It just, the story's got to come out, you know, and whether my mom reads it or I'm the only one that reads it, or, you know, 2 other people read it, it comes out, you know.
Sunny is a story I was mentioning, and that's the way it was for me, is that it just came to me, and I couldn't write anything else until that story was done. And, you know, it started out as a short story through a writing website that I was getting critiqued on, and then I took it from there and turned it into a full-length story. And it's just, I mean, it has a chimpanzee as a protagonist, and it's something that I'm responsible for it. I'm responsible for getting it on paper and for publishing it, but I don't know that it necessarily came from me. I believe in everything that it's trying to get about. It's the basic premise is that human arrogance won't allow us to credit animals for having an intellect that is similar yet different to ours, you know, like a chimpanzee and some dogs, you know. I mean, you can't show me there's a human out there that can think like a border collie can when it's rounding up sheep. I mean, they're just way above us on that level, but we just blow it off as just instinct. They could never be human. They could never love. They could never this. They could never that. We don't know. We're all ignorant. And that's what the basic story of Sunny is about, is that, you know, I'm people too, basically, even though he's a chimpanzee. But yeah, no, I don't know why I got there either, but I honestly believe that stories, really, the really good stories are floating around waiting for the right hand to put them on paper. And if you get one of those, you're lucky.
Well,
I
David,
completely agree.
what made you think this is the story that I want to tell? All the stories you have in your head, I'm sure you got, like you said, you've got, stories outlined, at least 8, and what made you think this is the story I want to get out? My first story. This is the first story I want to see. What made you think or drove you?
Similar lines, honestly. Like once it popped into my head, I couldn't get it out. I really couldn't get out. Like I said, it took me about 2 years to write all 3, at least for mostly done. To fine tuning, obviously, editing. You guys know, editing and revising is a major part of writing. But yeah, I just couldn't move forward without getting it out. I woke up with it one morning. Part of the plot line actually came to me in a dream when I woke up. If you didn't know, my dreams are absolutely gnarly, like extremely gnarly most of the time. But I woke up with the idea, kind of thought about it all day, and then it didn't go away. Usually, like a dream, like goes away within a day, and I started playing with it. Started thinking more into my head into it, and started writing things down. Within a week, it turned into a plot line. Within a month, I had a beginning, middle, and end. I just started going with it.
Yeah, I get that.
And with that, as far as stories, I mean, same thing with characters. The characters take on a life of their own. I mean, it's really, sometimes they just kind of write themselves, to be honest. Once you put down the base and foundation of them, they just kind of write themselves and go on as people. At least I found that so far.
Do you write in a linear fashion or do you hop around?
I hop around.
Yeah, do you? So will you be one to write scenes? I know people who actually will write out some exciting scenes and then almost like bridge from scene to scene. You know what I'm saying? Are you doing it like that, or?
Yes, and I also, like I said, since I focus right now on POV writing, sometimes they stay in the same person for a while, and so that way I can just keep their mindset going, because it is hard to shift mindsets. Like in book 1, there, I want to say
I have done that where I've taken a character and wrote out that whole character scene, which changes over time as you keep writing. I mean, once you do the revision, but you'll write out that whole character's lifestyle or lifespan, and then bring that into the story and break it up. And I've done that, but otherwise I'm pretty typically lineal.
I don't go too far ahead just in case I want to change a few things up. Because like I said, I have the outline of where I want to go, the different pitfalls, the different obstacles to overcome, the end game. But yeah, I might be a few chapters ahead with, say, I ended on 7. Now I'm on like 14, writing this narrative, this person over and over again, just to finish, get them up to a certain point and then go back. Because sometimes it is hard shifting gears from one person to another. But I am going to come back to, sometimes the villains are very hard to write, and you're like, I don't feel like writing that person today. So, like, I don't feel like drinking whiskey today. I'm just going to relax, go for a walk. But
I kind of taught myself a trick. I mean, we always get to these writer's block points, when you're doing a difficult scene. So I've started writing just nonsensical banter into the story to get me out of that writer's block. And it works tremendously. It's like I'll write 3-4 sentences of just nonsensical banter between 2 characters, and then the storyline picks up again and goes. So it's something I've taught myself recently. And if you're doing a writer's block, give it a try. I think if it has the same effect for you that it does for me, it'll get you out of your writer's block and keep the story going.
No, yeah. If I start getting writer's block, I'll definitely give it a try. What's that? Sorry?
You're too new at this to get writer's block yet, huh?
So far, I mean, usually I have to take a break and just go for like a hike or a walk, or go play fetch with the dog, or go play a card game with the kids. Like simple things just to relax the mind.
Good. Hey, David.
I get it.
Yes, sir.
Coming up on the end of our show, can you tell people where they can find you?
Yes. So I do have a website. It's been up for a while now. So it's dmmuga.com. Amazon, Audible. Books 1 and 2 are on Audible. Books 1, 2, and 3 for the Radius are on Amazon. and I am working on the negative series right now.
Great. Hey, you've been a great guest. It's been a great show.
You really have. I've enjoyed this. I hope you have too.
No, thank you. I'm very humbled, and thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, you're a lot of fun. We'd like to have you on again.
They call me the host, but Alan's actually in charge. You know that, don't you?
No. David,
he's the popular one.
We really appreciate it. That was live today. Thank you for joining us. And
yes, thank you,
David. We'd like to have you on again sometime.
Of course.
Yeah, we would, and we might call you to do some panels when we have those come up too.
Yeah,
I have this thing about roundtables that I never seem to be able to manifest, but one of these days we'll get you, Rich, and a couple other stupid people on here and see what we can come up with.
Sounds like a blast.
Thanks.
All right.
I'm gonna turn us off, but hang there for a minute, David.